Welcome back, folks. Well, it's been a long time, hasn't it? So I do apologize. I've been on a little bit of a hiatus, just out and about, getting a lot of important things done. But in the meantime, I haven't been able to produce any videos as of late. So to kick back into it, let's do nice and easy, relaxed 10 reasons to be or not to be a pilot. Let's get right into it. So first I'll do 10 reasons in favor of being a pilot. Again, so I've been flying for about 21 years. I am a pilot with one of our nation's leading legacy carriers, currently operating the Boeing 737 aircraft. So for me, on a very personal level, one of the biggest reasons is that I am in the air. I'll joke sometimes if I sneeze while I'm on the ground, I'll just say that I'm allergic to the ground. A lot of us in aviation, in fact, just pilots like to be airborne. And it may seem like something you might overlook at first glance, but it's almost like, okay, I'm at home when I'm flying. That's the kind of a commitment we're talking about. You do operate some of the world's most complex machines. Absolutely. No single company manufactures an aircraft from top to bottom of the world's airliners. And so we're looking at thousands of engineers that are dedicated to certain parts of the process of development of an aircraft, right? So you have Boeing, the manufacturer making the airplane itself, but then you have an entirely different company manufacturing the engines, and they are their own set of engineers. An entirely different company making tires, the avionics, and each of those different components is manufactured by a different company, and they have their own set of engineers and structure and all of that. And it truly is a worldwide effort, the manufacturing of a single aircraft. So you are operating some of the world's most complex machines. Part of the daily life of an airline pilot is that you have an extremely flexible schedule. So that can be really good, right? You can work for 2 weeks straight. That way you can have 2 weeks off. Now, you can accomplish a lot in 2 weeks off as far as vacation or any special projects. Obviously, you got to sacrifice because you're going to have to put those 2 weeks of pretty much straight traveling through. And that's going to be very difficult. But should you choose, that's really nice. As a guy, I thoroughly enjoy utilizing special tools. So a very special tool utilized for a specific purpose, it just gives me a huge pleasure. I enjoy it tremendously. So, the cockpit, you have all of your avionics. Well, they are, in and of themselves, specific tools. Take, for example, the radar, onboard radar of the aircraft. I mean, that is one special, specific, expensive tool. And then you have that understanding of that tool, limitations and capabilities, how to use it, and where your technical expertise will, in effect, make a difference in the utilization of that tool. So I get a lot of pleasure from that. You work with a lot of different people. Pilots are very unique in that we have a very wide range of talents. We have pilots that are doctors, that are lawyers, that restore cars from the bottom up. I do a lot of paint correction work for fun on my cars and what have you, but I am able to do that. We have programmers. We have surgery. We have nurses, specialized nurses that are pilots. I mean, a very vast, different background of experience, and that's really cool. A lot of guys, of course, about 50, half and half, civilian and military. So a lot of different backgrounds in the military and things that they've done there. Travel. Well, you are a pilot, and if you're at work, that means you are traveling. So then all the pros and cons associated with a traveling experience. You're going to have that, as a positive, right? I mean, getting to know the areas, the hotels, the process, if you're working a wide body aircraft, or if you're in a country where you have access quickly to many different countries, you will be doing a lot of international work as well. This is something I personally really like. I know a lot of people don't, but uniform. I thoroughly enjoy a sharp uniform, and I enjoy the simplicity of it. Right, you're not thinking of what color shirt I'm going to use today, what type of shirt. I mean, it's boom. It's the uniform, and then you just excel in that structure. That's pretty cool. You're responsible for a lot, right? I mean, realistically, an aircraft flying out there is $1 billion liability, right? I mean, you're looking at the equipment, aircraft, hull loss, potential ground damage, life loss, people on board, on the ground, potential revenue lost, loss of trust in the brand. So there is an incredible amount of responsibility on the shoulders of pilots, and that is something I deeply appreciate. One very interesting aspect of our industry is that we have what's called a seniority list. Your date of hire determines here in America, in the United States, your seniority, and that will determine which airplanes you can fly, if you can be a captain or first officer, and your quality of life overall. The more senior you are, the more selective you can be in the equipment that you fly, which seat you fly in. Not that you can alternate, flight to flight. It is kind of a multi-year commitment per choice, right? So if you go be a first officer on the 330, Airbus 330, you have to do that for at least a few years, depending on the airline. Then after that, you can switch, to being a captain on another airplane. Now, typically guys go first officer to captain and that's it. But like myself, I was first officer, captain for several years, forcibly back to first officer. I'll be back to captain here in the very near future, but who knows? I may be back to first officer due to my own choosing on a wide body, or maybe not, due to an item we're going to cover here on the against section. But the last aspect of it is one that, again, is very dear and close to my heart. It is just that we get a very unique perspective of God's creation, right? Nature in all of its glory and beauty, and it's just magnificent. What your eyes will see is almost like, humans were not meant to be here and see what we are seeing, right? But from above the clouds down below, and through the northern lights, and coming into an iced up runway on a blowing snow night with low visibility, you got a lot of different unique sights that you will not get anywhere else in the world unless you're flying an aircraft through that environment. So that's really awesome. And those are 10 good items. Now on to the 10 items or 10 reasons to not be a pilot. Again, it's kind of easy to do just a top 10 over here. This is interesting because, my wife reminds me oftentimes how she would not be able to do this, is traveling. It's a lifestyle. This is not just a job. I mean, you're packing your house on the go. You have a lot of equipment you use on the road. There's a lot of packing. You're on the go, right? I mean, you grab your belongings and you go. You can't forget it behind you. And that lifestyle is a major commitment. Just consider this, right? So last time you flew internationally on a 10-hour flight, how did you arrive at your destination? Typically, people call it being jet lagged and they feel really tired. Well, that's what pilots do on the regular, and we're responsible for the safety of everybody while we're working. And it's not like because you've been traveling for a long time, you no longer feel the exhaustion of traveling. It's not how it works, because it's a physical phenomenon, right? I mean, it's like, okay, if you run, if you jog, if you run a lot, well, you may get a little bit used to running, say, 10 miles, but it's still 10 miles of wear and tear on your body, no matter how used to it you are, right? So you got to keep that in mind. So if you don't like to travel, just a word of advice, that's going to be pretty hard. The flexibility of the schedule, on the flip side, yields no structure. And I don't mean that just on a daily basis, like 9 to 5. I mean that in the sense of weekends and holidays and, ooh, everybody's got Monday off and it's a 3-day weekend for everybody. Well, not to people flying people around, it's not, unless you got those days off. So you have days on, you have days off. And the lack of structure can cause tremendous stress. It is not very family friendly, especially when you have little ones. So you do have to be very mindful of that. It is rare, but there are couples that are pilots, both of them. Um, and God bless them. I don't know how they do it, but it'd be very hard. A lot of them bid opposite, right? So when the husband is at home, the wife is traveling. When the wife's at home, the husband is traveling, and that will yield just an incredible distance in the relationship, right? So it's not family friendly. Now, ideally, you'd have just one person doing this crazy job, and that makes it more manageable. You don't have a coworker structure. So while you do fly with other people, and that's great, and work with other people, if you particularly like somebody, that can be a real problem if you want to fly with them again and work with them again. And just that it may be a long time until you fly with them again, unless you maybe be able to bid together. Something to keep in mind. No circadian rhythm. So whenever, how from a medical standpoint, you should be going to sleep every night at 10 p.m. Yeah, that's not going to work. That's really not going to work. You may be going to work at 10 p.m. You may be going to sleep at 10 p.m. You may be going to sleep at 5 p.m. or 2 p.m. if you're going to be doing a red eye. So that is extremely complicated to manage. And it is a very big negative of being a pilot. You do not have the stability on your body clock. And you are working with different people. You may not enjoy to work with somebody different every single time you go to work. I mean, this is a profound difference relative to the normal individual. People tend to work with the same people. Well, not if you're in the airline industry and you're, line ops, you're flying the airplanes, not in an office job. You always working with different people. So that's something to think about. Another negative you may consider is the seniority list. So, when you get hired, you get a date of hire, and that will determine your quality of life, which airplanes you can fly, and if you're a captain or first officer here in America. The more senior you are, the more options you have. Well, on the flip side, the world's worst pilot may be hired way ahead of you. And if you are one of the world's best pilots, you will be junior to them your entire career, no matter what. So, that's not good, but it's also something we don't think about unless we're processing this type of thought. It's not something that we think about, but somebody with a poor work ethic, if they got on before you, that's it. They're ahead of you. So something to think about. No lateral move. This may surprise you, but did you know an airline pilot, say myself, right? I've been flying for 21 years. I've been with my company for almost 9 years. And, thousands of flights as captain. If I go to another airline, major legacy carrier airline, I'm back to probationary status, Mr. Proby, with 0 time in-house as a first officer. My experience does not transfer over to that other airline. So the commitment of airline pilots to their career and their company is unique. Yeah, you are married. It's till death do us apart. Hopefully not. Hopefully you get to retire first. But it is a huge commitment. So guys do not tend to go between companies unless you're in the very beginning, right? I mean, you've been with it like 1 or 2 years, and then you want to jump ship because it'll be more in line with your life, most likely associated with the bases. Say you live somewhere, you want your airline to have a base where you live, just as an example. So this is a huge consequential thing to know. Um, the job as a whole is not conducive to a healthy lifestyle. Gyms are terrible. They're mostly the size of a closet. You typically get 1 to 3 treadmills, and if you get weights, they'll be up to 50, and one incline bench, and an elliptical, and that's probably 8 out of 10 gyms. And then those that are fancy, they'll have 10 treadmills, and it's rare that the weights go to 75. And I don't think I've seen to 100 yet. And then you have some cable pull downs or what have you. So there's the nutrition aspect. You're eating out all the time unless you're packing your own food, which I do. Look forward to a video coming up about how to pack your food and what to pack. I started to do that recently because of, dynamics. And best choice, best decision ever. Highly recommend it. Definitely make a few videos about that for you guys if you're interested. But packing your own food will transform your life. Yeah, then there's this last item here. This is a big one. Extreme volatility. The airline industry can almost shut down due to factors that are not even happening in our country. That's something. That's something. So, something crazy happens somewhere in the world and people stop traveling even domestically. Well, and I'm not just referring to the previous event that we have had. I mean, any event throughout history. You just look back and it's, so the industry is extremely volatile. The cost of the oil can have a destructive impact, right? A small price change will affect our baseline cost in the billions per year. So as you can see, this volatility is one major downside of what we have. And, I've experienced it throughout my career multiple times, and we're experiencing it right now. Anyway, those are 10 things in favor, 10 things against. As we march forward, I'd definitely like to make a video about whether you should become an airline pilot today. Some food for thought. We'll be covering that in the future. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, share the video, and check out some of the other videos we got on the channel. And until next time, as always, fly safe.